All right, so we've obviously moved lower here today, and we've been watching Centab and Vol-M. So the Vol-M view is this view, right? So this should be kind of obvious to everyone. And the short from 6090 is just continuing to print all the way on down. One of the things that might give you some confidence in staying with the trade or not is, so in the automated channel, this automatically prints. You can generate this and a table using the Centab command, CENTAB command. And so what is this really telling us? It's telling us, so this line we call the lin fit line, right? Linear fit line. And we do one for the call centroid and we do one for the put centroid. And this number that exists right down here is the slope of this line. And you can see they both have negative signs on them, which means that they're pointing down. And then this is the rate of change from the last print, and we do this every 5 minutes. So if you're just looking at the automated channel, this will automatically be there every 5 minutes and update. This is a visual representation of the lin fit line slope, right? So when the red, which is the put centroid, that's this, right? When the put centroid is above the line, it is pointing up, right? So this would be a positive number right here. And when it's down below zero, the zero line being right here, it's pointing downward, right? So we have a negative thing that's going on. So the reason I wanted to come on voice here is there's a nuance on the given day. And one of the comments that we often hear in the Discord is that sometimes Vol-M shows or doesn't show a change. Like you can imagine we had a negative downward sloping, the centroids themselves, right, what I'm hovering over right now. We're all pulling everything down, and then you can see that price starts to come up. And certainly we see the market change its dynamics, right? It could have stepped in at 6090 and continued up, and then that would force price up into this area, and then we'd get a resulting shift of the Centab lines, or the lin fit lines, excuse me. And that's because the market is changing their dynamics, right? This is just a direct measure of what market participants are doing, right? There's not a lot of magic here except in the way that we slice the data, but this is literally what the market is doing, right? So this is, it's not delayed, there's no moving averages, it's about as pure of a signal as you're going to get. And as most of you who know me, I hate moving averages because they're always introducing a delay. There's no delay here. What you see is what you get, right? So why is that important here? So you can see that the red went below, and then it kind of hovered, and then it went below, and then it went positive. Now, what is this telling us right here? This is when it's negative, when the put centroid lines are negative, and this thing is getting pulled down slice over slice, participants are likely opening puts to the downside. Now, they may be transacting and closing, but it wouldn't be sustained over time. And so what this is telling you is that most likely, especially with price coming down, we had closing calls and we had opening puts, right? And the reason we can infer that, and it is just an inference, is because price is coming down, right? There's a lot of pressure that's going on in the markets. So then, when we look at the red here, we now see it kind of trying to get above zero, and now it's going positive. When the red line, which is the put lin fit line, when that starts moving positive, you can see that price was stabilizing, and sure enough, your eye is a really good filter. You can see that for all intents and purposes, it's entirely plausible that we're transacting above the lin fit line, we're transacting closer to price, so likely some of those puts were being closed, right? Remember, long puts are negative delta, right? And so if we remove negative delta from our book, we're getting longer, the dealer's getting shorter, and all things considered, we get upward pressure in general, all right? And you can see the red kind of maxes out where we're definitely, like, at what time was that? That was at 12:16. So if we go and we look at the 12:16, that's in this area, we're kind of maxing out in the rate of change, and then you can see we started to pull back down. So the nuance that I wanted to capture for you guys is that you're starting to see, when you look at the centroid centab, but it's the centroid slope changes, you actually get to see the market dynamics change. And this gives you a sense of the directionality that the market is doing, right? So as soon as you started to see the negative slope here, or the decreasing reds, that's telling you most likely puts are being opened, right? Now price has to confirm that, right? I don't want to just say, oh, the line's getting shorter, the price is dropping. No, you want to go look at price, and you want to see what price is doing. And clearly it was dropping at that time. And you can see it's been just transacting lower and lower and lower, and it looks like it's stabilized out with respect to this afternoon's session. This is telling you that puts are getting opened. Puts getting opened is a bearish condition. We're adding negative deltas to the book. If you're adding negative deltas to the book, that's going to likely pull price down. Now, something else that's going on here too. We had strong call selling. How do we know that? Well, we already verified that the prices were already coming down in the first session. So, I mean, you can see that here, right? So we're transacting calls, and the line is coming down 5 minute over 5 minute over 5 minute, and it's a fairly strong level. Then it starts to abate a little bit, but it remains negative, right? So at no time today has this Linfit line moved to a positive direction. And so as you come down in this, people are closing calls, right? And we can say that because we're effectively dropping here. So you get a combination of puts being opened and calls being closed, which has given us this downward move. Now, why can any of this be important? When you start seeing this kind of change here, this is another data point for you to say, okay, I think we're headed lower. Now, we talked about levels earlier. There was a number of things to talk about, but this is telling you the bias remains downward, right? So originally, I had thought we would bounce in the 40-50 area, and then when I was talking earlier, we actually bounced off the 30. And what did I say in that time? I said, well, we could actually look, 20 was a fairly strong strike, as well as 10. Well, sure enough, if you go back and you take a look at some of the things that we're at, here we are at the 60-10 strike, huge gamma in context of all expiries. Let's take a look here now at just the single expiry. And remember, the gamma distribution gets tighter and tighter as the day wears on, right? So effectively, you magnify the balloon of gamma. You're squeezing from the sides, the top and the bottom get taller, right? So this is the active area now where we're going to have influence, and it's going to be predominantly from all of these puts that are here. We have in the money puts here. We have out of the money puts here. And you can see just in magnitude why these are all red, because the calls are drying up. Right? The calls effectively down at this range don't really exist. So we've got this large strike here at 60-10. If we keep screwing around here and pushing lower, which is always very possible that we could end up doing that. We could bounce off the 60-10 zone. I think we bounced off 6,009 or something like that, just barely swept down through it. 7,777 net OI here when you balance the net puts and the net calls together to give us, this is a fairly large significant value. And you can see down at 6,000 here, we have over 10,000 contracts, which are providing upward charm as they decay, right? So we're getting more and more repulsive support as we get down into this particular area. So why is all of that important? Well, in the context of what we're talking here, you can see how the numbers have really started to stabilize here, right? So we're likely not going to go down much more today, and just given what we know about the structure down in this area, we're probably not going to break 6,000, and I would think this number, 7,000 net OI on the put side, is a big number. We need a lot of market participants to be opening long puts, negative deltas, in order for us to continue on down. If we do break through 60-10, I just can't. I mean, this is a huge number, minus 10,000 contracts at the end of the day, even though we're, 35 minutes into the close. Now all the Greeks are getting smaller, right? We're collapsing in with respect to time, and all the influence of the second order Greeks is going to get smaller and smaller. But it's going to take a lot of volume in order to break through and fall below the 6,000 strike area. So I hope this was useful in that when you look at this chart, and again, this is centab, right? This is the volume centroids. When you start moving above and below the zero line, that can give you some indications of what the prevailing trend is doing from the overall market participants. And clearly, as we got into 1 o'clock, there's 106, here's 111. Clearly the trend was confirmed to be down. The centroid line had gone from being a positive upward sloping line to down, and now it's down very, very strong. And you can see it's actually pointing, the bottom end of the range from this viewpoint was 60 or 59.90 and 60.31, fairly large, and that's because these are non-zero right now, and both are. So this one is coming up, it's slight positive number, this one's going down. So the real area that we'll probably close in is going to be between 6,000 and probably 60.20 or so. But we'll see, right? It's hard to tell from this exactly. But again, hopefully these little sidebars are useful for you to help just kind of gauge: do I stay with my trend? Do I take my trade off the table? What am I seeing for the overall market participants? And I think the centab bar chart here gives you some really good indications about what's going on. You may not have seen this. I don't know if it's in our tutorial. I don't think it is. We'll add this video. I did record it, so we'll add this video to that the library for reference, so that you can go back and see what we've got here. Thanks, everyone.